my channel. It's Val in Vancouver here again. It's an absolutely gorgeous Saturday here in Vancouver area, where I live in Burnaby, which is a different, city connected to Vancouver, the greater Vancouver area. It's about 27 degrees Celsius today. I think that's about 77, 79 degrees Fahrenheit. Absolutely gorgeous day. We're supposed to be hotter than Malibu, California this weekend, so we're having glorious weather. I know family and friends in Ontario are not doing as lucky. My daughter tells me that it's like 4 degrees there or something today, so not as nice. So today we're going to do some experimenting with some dollar store acrylic paints. Before we get started on that though, I just want to show you a couple current projects. So I've got this cake round here that I did. Believe it or not, I dipped this in the runoff paint from my last painting that I did that you'll see, let me think here, I have to think which video that's going to be, 42 I believe, 43 maybe. And so I dipped this in the runoff from that one. So, and I think I'm going to be enhancing this. I think I'm going to be doing some dolphins on this one. So I'll definitely show you that when I end up doing that. And then my other one that I did, that I enhanced recently, is this one I really like. I liked the pour, but I didn't love it. So then I added this little thin wooden butterfly that I painted with a really bright shimmery gold, and then I added these little fabric flowers that I got at the dollar store and painted on some stems to end up with this result, which I think is really pretty now, very spring-like, and I actually really like it now. So that's the wonderful thing I find about this type of painting, is that you don't have to, if you don't like something, you can either paint over it or you can add enhancements to it like I do quite often, and then you usually end up liking it. So let's get to today's painting. Just using a little 8x10 canvas for this experiment. I think I'm just going to puddle the paint on and see what happens. But what I'm going to do too is I bought these little silicone, apparently they're supposed to be little silicone scrubbies, for doing dishes or cleaning or anything like that. I bought those at the dollar store a while ago. So they got little bumps on each side. So I'm going to use these to make imprints on the canvas, just to see what happens, just to have a little fun. But I also want to see, because dollar store paints tend to be fairly thin. I don't know if you can tell in the cup how thin that is, but they do tend to be fairly thin. So I'm going to try these without any glue oil mixture or Floetrol or anything like that. But I am going to add a drop or two of silicone to each color, just to see if I do get some cells with these. I'm just adding a drop or two. The one color I don't have much of, so I only added one drop to, and I'm just using the Artist Loft silicone. But I'll show you the colors I'm using. I think, yeah, these are all, two different brands here. So one's Deco Art Crafters Acrylic that I got at $1 store. So this one is turquoise and daffodil yellow, and let's see what else, African violet and peacock blue, which is the one I don't have very much of. So. And then the other two colors are just another dollar store brand called Acrylic, and I'm using the neon blue and the cotton candy in those. So I've got 6 little colors here. Just going to do some pouring or some puddles. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do it, and I'm going to use those little silicone pads to do some impressions and see what happens. Oh, before I do that though, we better stir up this silicone, otherwise it's just going to be blotches in there. And I'll just take a minute to do that. So I hope everybody's doing great and still staying safe where you are. I've got official emails from my work last night. 3 emails in steps on how we are going to be reopening. I work in an optometry clinic, so we are going to be reopening on March 19th after our May long weekend here in Canada, and Victoria Day weekend it usually is, it's called, and we are going to be opening but limited service, if not all staff coming back at the same time. So I don't know yet if I will be one of the first staff coming back or if I'll be later. I don't know that yet. I'll find out soon. There are going to be lots of different changes going on at the office, of course, and how we're opening. That we will be opening in stages, I think, like pretty much any business is. The provinces are opening in stages. All kinds of things are happening in stages right now. So it's going to be interesting. I'll be glad to get back to work and have face-to-face contact with people, but at the same time it's a little bit nerve-wracking, all the changes and everything, but I'm sure we will all get through it all. Looks like we're getting through where we are right now. Alright, so let's see how this works out. Like I said, these may be too thick, but we're going to try them anyways. just to see what happens. I thought about layering them in a cup, but I don't feel like that's going to be the best approach. So we're going to try it just by putting the individual colors on. So we'll start with the daffodil yellow. I think I'm going to do several puddles. I think, or a couple puddles, I think is what I'm going to do. So these are definitely thicker than if they didn't have, you know, or if they did have water or Floetrol or anything in them, but they don't, so hopefully this will flow for me. We'll find out. So it's just an experiment, so it's not a huge amount of paint. If it doesn't turn out great, and if it doesn't turn out great, I can also just paint over it, or maybe it'll turn out enough that I want to just add some enhancements to it, or maybe we're going to get a fantastic result. It doesn't matter. It's all part of the fun of playing in the art room. So next I'm going to go with that peacock blue, which I only have a little bit of, so I'm just going to do a couple smaller circles of that. I could open the bottle lid and probably drain it upside down, but I'm not going to waste everybody's time like that, and I will do it later. I don't want to waste whatever might still be in there, but I got what I could get out of it for today's purposes. Okay, now we're going to use the cotton candy. And then we'll go to the African violet. And do a few puddles of this one, I think. Put some up here. I'm okay that these colors are blending. I don't mind that at all. I don't know about everybody else, but my apartment faces south and I have a big patio door, so I get a lot of heat when it gets warm like it is right now. So I've got my curtains closed, even though my door is open, and the fan on right now, but it's starting to definitely get warm in my apartment like it does in the middle afternoon. Okay, now we're going to do the neon blue. It seems to be thicker than the other ones, and it is the acrylic one, so maybe this particular brand is thicker than the DecoArt one. So I'm sure this is a lesser brand of DecoArt, certainly not the same one you'd buy at Michael's or elsewhere. Doesn't mean it's not a fine paint for this kind of thing, but we shall see. Okay, last but not least, we're going to do the turquoise. So you never know what I'm going to do. I intended to, I thought, do puddles of these on top of each other, and it just hasn't turned out that's what I'm going to do. I'm just doing this instead, and then we'll help them blend all together when we tilt. Okay, let's see what happens. And then I did notice when I guess when I went to the dollar store last, because I get these puppy pee pads from the dollar stores, and I bought a different size than I normally buy. This one's a 22-inch square, when normally I get this one, I think that's about 22, maybe bigger, 24 by 26 or something like that. So these are a little bit smaller, but that's okay. Still have enough room to work. I'm just going to move these out of the way for now. And let's see if we can get these to tilt and cover the canvas. And before I do that, I'm just going to give them a little blast with the torch, because I did put silicone and because I did just shake them up so that they are going to have lots of air bubbles in them. Okay, now we'll tilt them. And we'll see what happens. It might take a bit because they don't have any other paint like a white base coat or anything to run over or around or over, so it might take a bit more to get them to run, but they're not doing pretty good. They're not doing too bad. So we'll see what we can get them to do. Just want them to touch that there to hopefully get it to flow. Seeing if I can get it down to this corner now. So they do flow way more than if you were taking good quality acrylic paint out of a tube, like the Artist Loft or the even better ones. But they're flowing enough so to get us what we want. So let's go back over to this side now. We can get them to flow the rest of the way. Help that get over the edge there. It's very slow now because I don't have a lot of paint on here. I might have perhaps needed to use more since I'm not making it fluid with anything, but that's alright. Let's see what happens. So I do apologize if you want to fast forward to this part. Feel free. I might end up even adding a bit of paint to this just to get it to covered. But we'll see. I'm just trying to be patient here. Not always my strong suit. Just trying to get it to finish covering up the edges. We're getting there. Thanks for your patience. This is going to be the hard part right here because it's got a long way to go. And a little bit here too. See if I can get it to flow this way. Just got to get this bit to cover here. See if I can get that to flow a little bit. I'm mostly helping it with my finger, but that's okay. Okay, that will do for these purposes. I'm not worried about the edges. I can always just paint over those. Okay, that will do for now. Alright, so I'm just going to give that another torch. So I'm not seeming to get any cells, which is interesting that I'm getting a little bit here in this yellow, but not really. Which is interesting that I'm not getting any cells with paint that doesn't have anything to thin it out. But we'll give it another blast with the torch and see if that makes any difference now that it has spread out. But interesting that I'm not getting any cells really at all. So I'm surprised at that, but that's okay. Like I said, I wasn't needing any cells. I was just curious to see what would happen. Okay, so let's try using these silicone cleaners and see what I get. 1 second, just going to grab another paper towel. So I'm trying to reuse my gloves right now because I don't have very many left and they're very hard to get still. Although my office assures me that they've been getting supplies and can have more coming in, so that's good for when we get back to work. Okay, I don't think it really matters what color I use of these. They don't seem to have a difference in size of the little bumpy parts that I can detect. So I'm going to try using the black one first. And I'm just going to lay it right down there. Press it down gently. And then I'm going to use my tweezers just to lift up that little tab so I can get a hold of it without smearing the paint. Oh, that's cool. I like the lines it leaves there. Let's do that again. We'll use the other side just to Okay, it's hard to see the print in it right now. I think you'll see more of it later. Well, let's do some more. I'll use the other one. They're washable, so not a big deal. And this paint might be too thick to leave too much of an impression of this, or it might be too wet still, and just like when you're doing balloon kisses, it might be better to let it dry a little bit first, let it set up a little bit first, but that's right. Let's just try it. It's pretty patterns in the little silicone scrubby thing here that the paint is leaving behind. So look at that. That looks cool. That looks better than the painting. Wish I could just keep them like that. Okay, let's do a couple more spots so we've got some overlap here. So it is leaving some texture. It's hard to see. When I bring you in for a close-up, you'll be able to see better. Let's do a bit more. Let's see if I can just do this corner here. This one, I think the paint here is thicker, or perhaps just it's not showing the texture again, so as much, so I'm going to do it again. That's better. Now I can see the texture better. I'm pushing fairly firmly, so you can, I don't know if you can see the canvas moving as I'm pushing downwards. I am pushing pretty firmly just to make sure I get a really good imprint. Let's see if we can get this one in the middle here. That one I touched with my finger right there as I was pushing down. So this is interesting. I'm not sure if it's an exciting technique, but it's kind of fun in the marks that it does leave. And these little scrubbies are quite flexible, which is good. Okay, we're just going to leave that for a few minutes. I'm going to do a bit of cleanup, see if anything develops while it's sitting there, and then we will be back and we will do a close-up, or I might do more depending on what's happening, but we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I'm back. I did some cleanup and let it sit for a few minutes or so. Decided not to do any more on it for this first experiment, but I do like the marks it left. I'm going to move in for a close-up in just a second, but I'll show you the leftover paint on the silicone pads. Those will be getting washed off though in a few minutes, so hopefully they'll come out pretty clean. But I definitely would use this again, but I'm more curious to see now what it will result in on paint that has been, you know, mixed with Floetrol or another medium. So, and again, then maybe or maybe not silicone drops. So let's move in for some close-ups here though, so you can see some of the texture it did create. So this is the bottom left corner here. So you can see the little dots and the texture that it did create. And move over here to the bottom right corner. So you can see there the texture better. Didn't make quite as much texture on the yellow, or at least not in the middle there. Maybe the paint is thicker there, so it didn't show up as much, even though I was pressing pretty firmly. But we'll move up to the middle there. So again, you can see the texture. Seems to turn up quite well in the pink and the African violet color. Move up here to this corner. So you can see it right there on the corner. How I did it. And move over here to the left, and again you can see it in this color area most of all, and right here. So it's pretty cool. I'm happy with the experiment. Not sure I'm going to keep this, or if I will do something over top of it, either a complete new pour over top of it, or I'll embellish some way, but I like to see how it's going to dry first. But again, a fun experiment. And that's what this art is like for me, is experimenting, having fun, trying new techniques, trying new things. Dollar store things are so much fun, to take something from the dollar store and see how you can use it in a painting, like to create texture like I just did, or something else. But thanks for tuning in, I appreciate it very much. Hope you're still staying safe and having a great day, and I think it's Mother's Day pretty much, or another version of, pretty much everywhere this weekend. Mother's Day here in Canada and the US tomorrow, so I'm excited to really be Skyping with my daughter tomorrow. But in the meantime, if you're enjoying my channel, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down there on the bottom, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when I post my next video. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.